Everyone's talking about how Texas is so cheap, and I get it because it is cheap, right? But that's only part of the story because some people that move here to specifically Dallas love the city. And then some people who move from out of state to Dallas are like, I just don't like it. And they live here about a year or two and they're like, see you later, I'm gone, I'm out of here. And so they go back to where they're from. So we get that often where people will move here and they love it. And then people will move here and they just don't love it. So what is Texas, or specifically Dallas? What is it all about? Should I move to Texas or Dallas in 2026 or later? It just really depends, right? My name is Daniel. I'm a realtor and a loan officer here in Dallas. And if you're thinking of moving to Dallas, feel free to call, text, email, whatever you prefer. I'm happy to help you move to Dallas, Texas. Now, the very first thing I want to share with you has to do with housing. Because really, isn't that what it's all about? It's really about housing. That's the number one reason. Well, maybe not the number one reason for everyone, but for a lot of people, it's the number one reason as to why people are moving here to Dallas. It has to do with housing, because house prices are fairly reasonable for some people who are coming from major big cities like, let's say, LA, or let's say Chicago, New York. Those people that come here, they're like, a $500,000 property can get me 4 bedrooms and 3 full bathrooms. Man, I am going there for sure. And so we get that a lot from people who are coming from out of state. Now, people who are from within Texas, they're like, $500,000? No way, that's way too expensive. Like, I'm used to $200,000. I'm used to $150,000. So that happens to people that were born in Texas really and kind of grew up here. So personally for me, I'm from LA. So when I first heard about Dallas home prices, I'm like, man, that's cheap. That really is cheap, especially before COVID. That's really cheap. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of people will move out here. And it's very, not just reasonable price, but it's very cheap, relatively low prices to get a home here. And you get like 2,500, a 3,000 square foot house with a pretty good backyard. Whereas if you're in LA, you're in San Francisco, or let's say you're in New York, man, you're getting a home that's smaller than 2,000 square foot, built in like the 1960s and 1970s. Here you get a house that's built 2000, 2010 for $500,000. Whereas, for example, in New York, you get a small dinky apartment really, but you get a small dinky home and you have to spend almost $1 million for that. That is insane, isn't it? So that's really the number one reason why people move out here to Dallas. Of course, when it comes to job relocation, that's another reason why people will move out here. But this is a huge reason as to why people will move out to Dallas. So how are home prices these days? It definitely went up in pricing. It definitely has gone up within the past, I'd say like 4 or 5 years or so. And so it's gone up. And so people are kind of like, oh, it's kind of expensive. And I get it. Within the past 2 years, it's been decreasing. It's been a bit stable. So we haven't seen a lot of like home prices going up within the past 2 years. So that's kind of where the dilemma is. So people are thinking, oh, there's going to be a huge market crash. Oh, it's coming. Well, realistically, I don't think so. Because when we're talking about home prices going up twice as much as it was before, it's not going to drop down to that. It's not even go worse than that. It's going to go like maybe from where it is right now, like maybe 10%, maybe 20% lower. What is my experience that we are here in the DFW market. And so because of that, we're not going to see a market crash. We are going to see a lot of people who are just going to want to sell it for the highest price, but they can't. So they're going to have to lower their home prices at like 10%, maybe 20% lower, and then they sell their property. So right now, we are not seeing a lot of houses being listed on the market because the interest rates are so high. But of course, when the interest rates drop, then we're going to see house prices going back up again. So everyone just kind of waiting for the interest rates to drop. So when we kind of compare what it was back then versus what it is now, house prices have gone up, but it's not going to go up. It's not going to go down that much. So how is it in terms of in comparison to other states? Oh, we are still relatively on the cheaper end in comparison to big states like New York, like I mentioned, Chicago, LA, San Francisco, you name it. Those kinds of homes are going to be about 2-3 times more expensive, and you get a smaller home, you get an older home, you get a very small backyard. Here, of course, we got a lot of land. So that's the benefit here in Dallas, Texas. Now, when it comes with, let's say, income and state income tax, obviously the great thing about Dallas is that we have no state income tax. I mean, come on, you can't beat that, right? That's one of the greatest things, to be able to know that you don't have to pay state income tax, whereas other places you got to pay state income tax. And so that's kind of the downside of living in another state versus Texas. So this is another huge benefit here in 2026. Dallas, no state income tax, is one of the reasons why people love it here. Now, personally for me, I'm used to it. I'm like, no state income tax. In the very beginning, I was like, when I moved here about like 7 years ago, I was like, oh my goodness, this is the best thing in the world. I don't have to pay state income tax. But then there was a problem. The problem is I got used to it. I got kind of used to it, and I'm just kind of like, okay, now I know there's no state income tax, and if I have to pay for it, I'm not going to be happy. So that kind of makes it harder for me to move to another state, or for me to move back to California, knowing that I have to pay state income tax. Now, on the downside of here in Dallas, Texas, is you got to pay property tax. Now, of course, in California, you got to pay property tax as well, but the percentage here is relatively higher than California. California, I'd say, is about a 1% property tax. Now, here in Texas, depends on what kind of a property you get, because it just really depends on whether there's a mud, there's a pit. Now, if you are thinking of getting a new home construction, a new home, then feel free to contact me, call, text, email me, whatever you want. I'm definitely help you with getting a new construction home, because here's a cool thing. I actually worked as a new home sales manager. So I know what it is like to go through the whole process of building a house. I was on the sales manager side of a builder, and I'm a realtor, so I understand both aspects. Me as a realtor, I'm always on your side. I'm always on my client side. As a new home salesman at that time, I was never on the client side. I was on what? The builder side, because I'm working for the builder. So I'm basically on the seller side rather than the buyer side. Now, as a realtor, if you have a home, a pre-existing home, then of course I can represent you as a listing agent and be on your side, which is going to be the seller side. But if you're buying a home, then of course, let's say you buy a new construction home, then I will be on your side, which will be the buyer side. And so new home constructions, they love it when people don't come with a realtor. Of course, that's the builder side. Of course, the sales manager would, of course, prefer, it'll be easier for them to work with a realtor at times. But from a builder's perspective, having to be able to pay my commission as a buyer's agent commission, that's kind of where they just don't want to pay for. So that's where they don't want to do that. But of course, me as your buyer's agent, I can help you through the whole process from A to Z. I understand all the building process and the negotiation as well. So if you're thinking of getting a new construction home, then feel free to contact me. If you're getting a pre-existing home as well, feel free to contact me. I do both sides. But let's just say in terms of property tax, some homes you're gonna have to pay a MUD. Some homes you're gonna pay a PID. And with that in mind, your property tax is going to be relatively higher. And here in Texas, it can be 2%. Or really, it can be really just 1.5% if you do homestead tax exemption. So that also depends on kind of where you're at. So what I'm telling you about property tax is that let's say we get a 1.5% with homestead tax exemption, whereas California, you're at a 1%. So let's say you have a home in California, a 1% at $1 million. That means in 1 year, your property tax is going to be about $10,000. So in a month, a little over $800, right? Now, here in Dallas, let's say your home is $500,000 and your property tax with homestead tax exemption is 1.5%. Then you're paying $7,500, so $7,500 in 12 months. and that comes down to be about a little over $600 in a month. So yes, percentage wise, we are higher than California. Of course, we'd prefer to be at the 1% tax bracket, or property tax that is, but our home prices are lower. So at the end of the day, we're paying less property tax in terms of dollar amount, not percentage, but dollar amount. And what that helps is that we don't have to pay as much money in terms of property tax versus California, but that kind of does offset the fact that we don't pay state income tax. So yes, our property taxes are a little higher, but then we don't have to pay state income tax here in Dallas, Texas. All right, so another thing about here in Dallas, Texas has to do with the homeowners insurance as well as the utilities. Now, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm not going to be like, hey, you got to move to Dallas. I'm not going to do that. I'm just going to be straightforward with you, tell you the pros and cons. Now, the bad side about living in Dallas has to do with the utility bills being a bit higher. Now, that really depends in comparison to what state I'm comparing it to. Let's say, for example, California. You live in LA. You got really nice weather out there, because I know I grew up literally 5 minutes away from the beach. So I understand the Pacific Ocean there, a nice breeze. So utility costs aren't going to be high. In fact, when I grew up, my home that I was living in, or my parents' home that is, we did not have an AC. We didn't have an air conditioner because we didn't need it. These days, it's getting a little hotter. So my parents are like, hey, Daniel, we installed like a small AC just because of the weather getting a bit hotter nowadays. Now, when we compare that kind of weather versus here in Dallas, you're going to have to turn on the AC quite a bit here. Like my home, it's running 24/7. We have the AC on in the summer, that is, right? In the summer, and then in the winter, we got the heater running. Whereas when I was in California, all we had was the heater running once in a while because it wasn't that cold during the winter. But it would get cold because we would have to, turn it on a bit and, kind of have like some nice warm blankets. But here in Dallas, like during the summer right now, I don't even wear a blanket because it's so hot, right? Even my kiddo, she never puts on a blanket. It's so hot, but we have the AC running 24/7. Now on the flip side, during the winter, we of course have a blanket here all the time because it is cold, man. It can get really cold, and we have the heater running. So utility bills, yes, we are going to be higher than places like California. Now, how about places like Chicago or New York? I think we might be even cheaper because Chicago can get really cold, right? It can get super cold. New York is colder than here in Dallas. So when we compare those cities with Dallas, then of course our utility bills are going to be relatively a bit cheaper. Now, homeowners insurance, one of the things here is that we have a lot of hail. So our roof, when we have the coverage for our roof, at least for me, it went from a 1% deductible, and now this year it went up to 2% deductible. That depends on your insurance company. Now, I know in LA, you got a lot of fire things going on, so you're going to have a lot of insurance with that. So, you got pros and cons, whether it's good over there or whether it's bad here, whether it costs more. So it just really depends, but that definitely is another factor that you want to take into consideration. Now, on the side note, I wore this right here. This shirt right here has cactus, right? I wore this shirt because I wanted to talk about the weather. The weather here is crazy hot. Yes, we go in the hundreds. We do, but not a lot, but we do. You got to be aware of that. Now, we don't have like a bunch of cactus, right? We don't have that. But my point, I just wanted to wear the shirt, right? But my point is that here in the summer weather, it is going to be hot. And in the winter, it is going to be cold. It's not going to be Chicago. It's not going to be New York. It's not going to be that kind of cold winter season. But we are going to have some snowstorms probably every year. At least the past 4 years, we had a snowstorm every year. And it lasted for a few days. We got locked into our homes. No school, no work for about maybe 2 days of no work. And then schools, actually last year was about 1 week or so of no school. So you can really get kind of just locked into your home because of the winter snowstorm. But during the summer, it is going to get hot. Personally, for me, I'm used to the summer weather here. I just don't like the cold weather. I just can't stand it. So what I'll do during the snowstorm is I'll try to kind of predict it, and I would buy a an airfare ticket, and if I have to cancel, I cancel. But if I can't, I would try to go fly out there during the snowstorm so I don't get locked in. FYI, that's a very good tip and trick. So that's kind of another thing that you want to take into consideration. Now, when it comes with transportation, I'll tell you, Dallas transportation, all of us here drive, right? Most of the people here in America, we all drive unless you have public transportation. Let's say New York, you got the subway there, right? But for the most part, a lot of us drive, and that's kind of just how it is in Dallas. Now, let me tell you the downside of the roads here. Now, this should not be a deal breaker moving to Dallas, but I just want to FYI so that you know. But the roads here are just terrible. I don't know when they built the roads here, the tolls, the highways, the freeways, whatever they built, it was just like, what in the world did this do? Like, common sense, man. Like, you can't even build like roads that are like just kind of like connecting well. It's like you're like all over the place. So it's a mess here when it comes to transportation. So when you first come, you might be like, oh my goodness, I'm getting lost, it's hard. So just be aware of that, FYI, okay? So that's kind of the downside of the traffic. Now, the good side here in Dallas are the schools. Man, we got some top-rated schools. Of course, we got a lot of colleges, universities that have been up and coming. We got like UNT, we got, man, I can't even think of colleges. It's been so long since I've attended a college, since I've attended school, right? But anyway, so we got some good universities and we got some really good, we call it ISD here. We got like the public schools are just ranked really high. So a lot of the people will move to Dallas because of the schools. You go to the website, you go to Great Schools website and you check out the rankings of those schools. I mean, you will see that those schools are just so high. It's ranked really high. At least for my kiddo, she's going to elementary. And when I saw it a few years ago, we were ranked an 8 out of 10. Right now, we're ranked a 10 out of 10. You see how schools just keep getting better and better, right? The academics here, just top notch. Not only just academics, sports wise. We are so focused on sports. Now, Dallas Cowboys, man, they break my heart every year. They just do. Like, I met Dak Prescott. I took a picture with him. And in the back of my phone, there's kind of like this picture. He was like, oh, cute baby. And that's my baby, of course, right? So he said my baby's cute. So that was pretty cool, right? But I took a picture with him, met Dak Prescott. Dallas Cowboys, man, they break my heart, though. Every year, I'm just like, let's go. I'm so excited. They break my heart. Just like, they heartbreakers. Dallas Mavericks, man, they're heartbreakers too, right? But I have more high expectation with Dallas Cowboys because of the history with the team, right? Anyways, doesn't matter. My point is that here we are so focused on sports. People love it in Dallas. The high schools here are so football focused, golf focused, whatever it is. A lot of the schools here are just academic as well as sports. So you are going to get some really good schools here in Dallas. So what about the lifestyle here in Dallas? Now, I'm going to tell you that there are a lot of things to do here, but in comparison to LA, nothing really here. Now, we got like a lot of kind of hotels where you can go. A lot of families will go to swimming pools, like indoor swimming pools, outdoor swimming pools during the hot season because it's like what else to do when it's hot, right? So we'll go to the mall, we'll go outlet shopping, we'll go inside the malls, trying to stay cool out here in Dallas, or we'll go to swimming pools. And so, are there a lot of restaurants? Oh yeah, there's a lot of restaurants. There really are. But in comparison to LA if you live in LA, man, so many things to do. When I was in LA, I didn't realize how many things that I had that I could do. I took it for granted. And now I come to Dallas, I'm like, oh my goodness, like, why did I take those things for granted? Because obviously that's just human nature, right? You take things for granted. You're not thankful. You're not grateful for the things that you have around you. And so I didn't know that. But like, let's say, for example, if I compare my life from when I was in LA versus here in Dallas, in LA, I had the beach. Like, I was literally 5 minutes away from the beach. I was 5 minutes away from Redondo Beach, Torrance Beach, and you got Hermosa, Manhattan Beach. We're like 10, 15 minutes away. You got Santa Monica Beach, which is like 30, 40 minutes away from where I was. I got like the whole Pacific Ocean, like walking distance, really. If I really wanted to walk, I could have walked, but that would have taken about maybe an hour or so, right? But I could have walked. But if I wanted to drive, 5-minute drive, I could have rode my bike, whatever. I actually did ride my bike a lot of times when I was younger. So I had the beach, I had water all the time, 24/7, anytime I wanted to go. I had that. What else did I have? I had Disneyland, I had Six Flags Magic Mountain, Universal Studios, Downtown Disney, Universal City Walk. You got a 4-hour drive to Las Vegas. You have a 4-hour or 5-hour drive to San Francisco. You got a 2-hour drive to San Diego. You have everything around you. Like, so many things to do in LA, and I just didn't realize how grateful I should have been. How many things I had. Here in Dallas, what do we have here? Indoor and outdoor swimming pools. We got malls. We got outlets. We got those in LA as well. And then you also have a bunch of places to eat, which LA does. LA has even more. So you got a lot of things to do here in Dallas, but in comparison to LA, you got more. Now, let's say, for example, you're moving from another state. Not a big city, but a smaller state. A smaller city, then of course here in Dallas, man, you're going to have a lot of things to do here in Dallas, Texas. So when it comes with lifestyle, I'm going to tell you, it's fun, but a lot of times my family and I will take the plane. Let's go somewhere else, because there's really nowhere to go for road trips. Houston, it's all right. But Dallas is better than Houston. So why would I want to go to Houston for a road trip, right? Austin, no thank you, right? Maybe 1 or 2 nights max or something, but that's probably once every few years. And then San Antonio, nothing to do there. So really, you don't have a lot of things to do here in the Dallas area in terms of road trip. You can go to Oklahoma, but same thing, right? Come on, like really? I'm in Dallas and I'm gonna go to Oklahoma, so let's just take the flight. Let's go somewhere else, okay? So that's what my family, that's what we like to do, because there's just not too many things to do here. But there are still a lot of things to do during the weekends. Now, I want to tell you several things that are not good about Dallas, and I share with you about like the transportation. I share with you the summer weather, winter weather as well. Also, another thing has to do with bugs. Some people come here, they're like, oh my goodness, there's so many bugs. It just drives them crazy. Funny story. My wife, when she sees bugs, she goes crazy. She's like, right? She goes crazy. I don't want to scream into the mic, but she just goes crazy. Now, I don't know why. The first time I saw that, right? First time I ever saw this before. But when she sees a bug, she grabs a book. Right? It doesn't matter, any bug, whether it's thin or whether it's like 3 inches thick. She grabs it and she throws that book at the bug, thinking that she's gonna catch it. Yeah, I know, it's crazy, right? You're probably thinking, my wife does that. Yeah, I know, because my wife does that, right? I know. So she thinks she's gonna catch it, but guess what happens? I'm like, I come home, she's like, okay, maybe I don't come home, but like, I'm like just right there, and she's like, bug. She throws it. I'm like, where is it now? And she's like, and she doesn't know what to say, because I'm like, it's gone. Like, why would you want to? I could have just killed the bug. You know what I'm saying? Like, I mean, as long as it's not like a foot, 6 inches big, right? I can't kill that. It's pretty, like, even 2 inches is pretty scary. I'm okay with like a 1 inch, 1.5 inch bug. 1.5 inch might be like, oh, okay, let's catch it. But 2 inches, oh, that's kind of scary, right? But anyways, if there's a bug, man, like, let me get it. Don't let you try to get the bug, because you ain't gonna get it, right? That's kind of my mindset, right? So anyways, she throws a book and she doesn't get it. I shared this story to someone, a funny story. Like, I was sharing it to I was talking with a client of mine, and I was sharing this story, and she was like, oh my goodness, I do that too. I'm like, wow, you're the second person in the world that I found out. And I was like, and I tell her, I was like, every time my wife does that, the bug runs away. And guess what she told me? She's like, I actually caught a bug before with a bug. Funny story. Anyway, so here in Dallas, you are going to see bugs. You need a pest control. At least that's my recommendation if you have a wife that's scared of bugs, or you're scared of bugs. That's me. I need pest control, or else my wife's gonna go crazy. If she goes crazy, I go crazy. And the funny thing is my daughter's scared of bugs too. When she sees the bugs, she's like, ah! She's just like my wife. I don't know how she learned it, but scary thing, right? But anyways, so that's kind of the downside here in Dallas. Now, do I recommend moving here to Dallas? Of course. I live here, man. Come on, right? Yeah, I live here. Of course, I recommend Dallas. Now, if you're comparing it with 15 years ago, house prices are going to be a lot more expensive. Of course. It's just how it is. That's anywhere in America right now, right? But in terms of overall what you get here in Dallas, you get a lot. You get the good schools. You get some good location. That's another thing too. In terms of all of America, we are like smack in the middle. We're in the center. So if you want to go to LA, 3-hour flight, 3.5-hour flight, or maybe sometimes 2.5 hours or something. Depends on the pilot, right? Las Vegas can be like 2.5 hours. Actually, I'd say 3 hours. You want to go to Chicago, 2.5 hours. You want to go to Mexico, 3 hours. You want to go to, let's say, East Coast, New York, 3.5 hours. So the cool thing about being in Dallas is that you're like in the center of America. And so let's say if you lived in LA, you want to go to East Coast, New York, that's like a 5-hour flight. 5 hours ain't easy, right? That's pretty tough. But to be in Dallas, now Hawaii is pretty far from here, but most of America here, we're like a 3-hour average flight time. So that's another great thing about being in Dallas, Texas. So we got some pros, we got some cons, we got some great things about living here. So if you want to move to Dallas, Texas, feel free to call, text, email me, whatever you prefer. I will be more than happy to help you find a beautiful home here in Dallas, Texas. My name is Daniel, Realtor and Loan Officer. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.